Now, just to state, I have not played Dragon Age Veilguard. I'm one of the fortunate many that did not get early access, which has nothing to do with not being a giant content creator, which as you can tell by my sub count, I clearly am. Nevertheless, I am thrilled I did not get my hands on this garbage. I've seen enough from the high caliber, knowledgeable, and intelligent gaming channels such as IGN, which is an ironic name because that's the first three letters of ignorant. Now, you may ask yourself, giant content creator Psychbuster, how do you know it's going to be bad when you haven't even played it? Well, my friends, let's go on a journey together. I'm going to take you back to a moment in history now where times were simpler. The year is 2009, you're in high school. You've never been accused of dead naming anyone. Racism was still prevalent, but everyone acted like it didn't exist. You rush home from school to put on your best polo shirt. You ask your mum if she can save your dinner and put it aside because you're going to the cinema to watch Avatar in 3D, while singing in the cinema, also in 3D, eating 3D popcorn and joking with your 3D friends. You finish the evening and get back home just to fire up the old faithful Xbox 360. You boot up Dragon Age, no I'm just kidding. Dragon Age Origins for the first time. There is no 35GB update to download, you just pop in the disc and play. What a time to be alive. Now let's cut to 2024. Dragon Age Veilguard is coming out on the 31st of October, Halloween, which is obscenely fitting because this is about to become a f***ing nightmare. Now you're going to think, oh Mr. Psychbuster, you're going to make this all about the fact you can include top scars in the character creator, aren't you? Well, my old friends, you would only be partially correct. I have no problem with representation for audiences in video games. I just think that it actually means something and also represents something that needs to be represented. You can have top scars, you can be called she, her, they, them, whatever you like. But the one question on everyone's gender-neutral lips, can you actually take your top off? You can't in the previous title, Inquisition, as it gives you full body underwear. Now, I did see a YouTube video saying it does have full nudity, and that would indeed be supported by its M rating. Well, I have been stifled. It looks like all of this was for nothing. But I can assure you, there's still a point here. Now let's do something truly scary. Let's do some mathematics. Now, as I said previously, I have no problem with representation in video games, but just for fun, just a little bit of fun, let's take a look at that representation through statistics. Approximately 1.1% of the population of the United States, according to usafacts.org, identifies as being transgender, and Statistical.com reported 76% of adults in the US played video games on at least one platform. Take away 24% from that, and also take away 24% of the 1.1% of people identifying as trans, and you are left with a number around 0.836%. Now, this isn't an exact science, so let's be generous and say the full 1.1% of identifying United Trans Americans play video games. Why would they have thought to include top scars to represent 1.1% of people? That is absolutely fine, but why only represent the 1.1% of people? According to amputeecoalition.org, 1.6% of Americans suffer with limb loss and limb difference. Wait a second, Mr. Psychbuster, that's a higher percentage than trans Americans. Well, what have we here? It would appear it's not woke to care about amputees. I said it, and I'll say it again. 2.4% of Americans are blind. Why is there no option to play with a screen in complete darkness and only play via audio cues? They could have been really inclusive and named it Veilguard. Now, I will admit you could turn the screen off, but that's not very inclusive, is it, BioWare? Or should I say, Bio only care when they want to? I would argue that loss of limb or blindness would have far more importance and actually make far more sense to be included as a law-friendly option. Far more likely to suffer loss of limb in a great battle or be blinded by the spell of a magic wizard. You have to remember, BioCare really doesn't care about representation or you. They care about social trends, and most importantly, making lots and lots of What about the body types they include in video games of these days? Hey, I'm okay with you playing as a 350-pound warthog with an axe. The condition is though, you can be strong, but I want the stamina to be effectively 0. I want an out-of-breath trait to kick in when you swing that axe a maximum of 3 times. The plus side would be, you start off very strong, and when you don't eat, you gain the passive bonus of hangry, which turns you into a superhuman for 5 minutes, until your blood sugar drops. What happened to the days of attractive characters in games? Baldur's Gate 3 was a great recent example of doing it right. It had hot women. But not only that, it had hot women, with interesting backstories and incredible dialogue. Looking back in Morrigan in Dragon Age Origins, an interesting backstory, and most importantly, a complete smoke show. As a 15-year-old, I would spend more time trying to progress the romance of a fictional character than the effort I put in real life. Admittedly, I do not possess the power to obtain a Morrigan-like woman in real life. I'd be aiming more for the 350-pound warthog with an axe. But that's completely the point. I'm in a mythical environment. I play games to get away from the woke bullshit and, most importantly, my own life. I'm Alistair's mate, the Grey Warden. I'm suave, I'm sexy, and I know I can pull Flemeth's best daughter. Look at Concord, a complete and utter failure, and I'm glad it did. Look at these hideous character designs. Who wants to play as these monstrosities? Why would you? They look awful. Forget Guardians of the Galaxy. I think they've struggled to guard against their own self-esteem. Let's now guide you into the styling of Veilguard. If you take a look at this, you may be fooled into thinking this is a mobile game, or the latest Ubisoft abomination. The UI has far too much going on. What the fuck are all these buttons? Is it touchscreen? Give us the credit of being able to remember what our 4 abilities are, rather than blocking half the screen reminding us. I actually think this is an insult to mobile games. Taking a look at Genshin Impact here, or Honkai Star Rail, the UI is actually far cleaner. The fantasy cartoon visuals of Veilguard makes it look like Hogwarts Legacy. When I first saw the trailer drop, I got excited. I really did. And after seeing the first gameplay trailer, I was actually in disbelief by how much this looked like Hogwarts Legacy. Dodging the spells, the combat, all of it. That's not to say Hogwarts Legacy is a bad game. We won't talk about the bartender. Boy, Harry's mate, want to jump behind the bar and take a look at my giant one? Hogwarts Legacy fits the theme. It has stylized graphics, but it makes sense. Harry Potter is a children's book, let's be clear, and they're great. The game represents the source material. Veilguard doesn't. You can argue games change over time and evolve, which I would agree with, but take a look at this. The dark grey visuals of Origins here, while still having the subtle allure of magic infused with a tone of mystery. It just doesn't happen in games anymore. The darkness is lost in the light of the wokeness. Look at the 2 descriptions of the games. With Origins you get this description of an ominous Grey Warden, a legendary order of guardians engulfed in a civil war, chosen by fate to slay the archdemon. Wow, that is just... I want to play that game. Now let's take a look at Veilguard's description. Ah, a vibrant land, a rugged wilderness. There's nothing rugged about this game, by the way. Nevertheless. Glittering cities. THSAD needs a new leader. One they'll never see coming. Whoa, 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 BioGare. That's not strictly true, is it? They will see it coming as you never included an option to be blind. Friendship. Drama, they're right about that. And romance. As you bring striking individuals, they're spot on again there really. It's just completely unoriginal. How can it be rated mature with that description? You could slap that description on a My Little Ponies game and I would raise no concern with that, other than the fact My Little Pony games are rated mature. But we know bronies exist, so that makes sense. Now let's take a look at some gameplay comparisons. Tactical combat. Origins featured a tactical pause system. You could stop the action, assess the battlefield, and issue commands to your party, and take control of them yourself. I can remember the feeling of overcoming a challenging battle in Origins, a real sense of achievement. In contrast, Veilguard is a glorified action-adventure game. I'm okay with that. I like action-adventure, but just take Dragon Age out of the title, because it isn't the age of dragons, it's the age of dyed hair and identity crisis. Origins combat was rooted in strategy and deep party control. Veilguard is a fast-paced, generic snorefest, and it's sad to see. I'm not sure why they went this route, other than to cater to people who don't want to think when they play a game. Now, I don't want to think when I play a game a lot of the time either, but I'll tell you one thing, I definitely don't want to think about woke fucking bullshit. Now, for my final point, we're going to take a look at IGN's character creator video, side by side. It's like you're here next to me, but you're not. Just to be clear, there will be zero jokes at the expense of the commentator. It's not her fault she works for IGN.
Played a hefty 7 hours of BioWare's first original.
If I'm not allowed to laugh, you're not allowed to laugh. But she has got a voice for sign language. But that's not the point, and that's the only joke I'm going to do.
But so far, the Veilguard hasn't disappointed.
Oh yes, for you. You're probably right. It hasn't disappointed. But in your world, provided you can have a set of tits and a cock and balls, you're giving it at least an IGN standard 7 out of 10.
Different hair textures are represented, whether you'd like...
Right, scrap the video. Instead, we're going to play Represented Bingo.
Combat, meanwhile, was a refreshing change from Inquisition.
Ah, refreshing. Like warm tap water on a hot day. Like the sound of a baby crying on a long-haul flight. Refreshing like being locked in a room, having to listen to IGN's paid reviews all day.
The options feel almost endless. There's even a glute slider. And yes, I gave my rook one hell of an ass.
A glute slider? Here we go. Sign me up. Wait, what the f*** is that? That's flatter than a lunatic's view of the Earth.
Each class gets its own ultimate ability. Think...
Overwatch.
The focus ability.
Look, whilst I could go through the whole video and pick it apart, whimsical jokes and well-timed puns, I'm not going to put you, or myself, through the horror of any more IGN than the average human needs. The answer is 0, by the way. 0 amount of IGN. I honestly believe that these types of games are what's ruining the games industry. Now this may surprise you, but I won't be purchasing this game. I'm not really sure how I've managed to make a 10-11 minute video on a game that's not even out yet. But just remember, if you do purchase this game, you are hurting trans culture. And at the same time, If you don't purchase this game, you're also hurting trans culture. I'm personally going to focus on the people that aren't as represented, like the blind people and the amputees. Now, I know it might not sound that scary, an angry mob of blind amputees walking towards you with what they think are pitchforks tied to their bodies, but for me personally, that vision absolutely fucking terrifies me, and I'm probably not going to sleep tonight now. If you like this video, give it a like, and go on, subscribe while you're there. Why not? If you dislike the video, that's okay too, and smash that dislike button. No one's going to see it anyway, because YouTube don't actually care about your preferences. I do care about your preferences. Well, your preferences on YouTube anyway. Let's not get into the other stuff.